Spoiler alert, I'm not dying, but when it gets near that time, I'll be ready. And you should be too. I'm Denise, and this is Travels in My Chair. Welcome back. I have metastatic breast cancer. So in 2006, for those of you who have not joined me before, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and wasn't given a long time to live, but you know, I beat it. Yay, I'm here. And 15 years later, it has metastasized into my bone, near my tailbone and my hips. It meant a pretty close relationship with the people at the cancer agency. I kind of knew my days were numbered. No matter how you want to look at it, once it gets into the bone, it starts spreading around. You know, you got to be realistic about it. And then before I went for my physical appointment with my new oncologist, which by the way is a geriatric oncologist, I said to my friend, "I'm not old." And she goes, "Yeah, the hell you are." So when this lovely lady named Anna called me, the first thing she said to me was, "Tell me in your own words what you believe is going on with your cancer right now." I thought at the time, what a weird question. But of course, if they're dealing with people that are older, they have to know whether that person is cognitive, to be able to talk to them openly about things, or if they need to have an advocate. So we talked. She wanted to know if I told my family, my spouse, if we talked about it openly. And then she said something pretty interesting. She said, "And Denise, have you got your will and your end of life requirements in order?" I said, "Well, I started working on my will and updating it in the spring, but end of life, I don't understand." She says, "Well, we don't suggest that you have your end of life in place. We insist on it. Because if something happens and you can't speak for yourself, it's important that your wishes are heard." Do you understand what I'm saying? I said, "Yes, I do. I'll get on it right away." So get it together. It's hard. Boy, that's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done, is to look deeply into your life, what your wishes are, what you want to happen to your stuff, and deal with it, basically. Now, this is something I just recently learned, which I don't know if it applies to you that live in the States or the UK that are watching, but here we require a representation agreement. A representation agreement is a legal document which allows you to choose the person or persons who will represent you or be your advocate and will make important decisions on your behalf if you are not able. This can be a family member or a person that you trust with your life decisions. And I didn't even know anything about this, to be honest, until a friend of mine found his wife unconscious one morning. And when the paramedics came, they asked if he had that agreement, because that gives them permission with his suggestion on how to proceed from there. Important. Things you learn, you know. Being in control of your life and what is going to happen at the end of your life is so important, but it also gives you a sense of being in control of things that you haven't been in control of for a long time. You know, you got cancer, and basically everyone can make decisions for you. But this now, you're getting to the point, whether you're young or whether you're older like me, it's time to make those important decisions. So bear with me on this, okay? Suggestion from our investment counselor: have a list of all your passwords, all your bank accounts, all your insurance documents, your gas bill, electric bill, telephone bill, everything. And that list could either go to your representative or your executor, or though they may be the same person. The reason that she suggested this was because after you pass, there is so much paperwork involved. And if you've got someone coming into your home going, now what? It's making their job so difficult. And your responsibility, while you're well enough, and well enough up here, is to make those decisions to make their job easier. Or, for instance, if you pass before your spouse and your spouse is taking responsibility for all that, just don't assume that he knows. As an example, my password book was all in code. He said, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? What does that mean for a password? Three-legged dog. So you make your list of all those important things, and then that list needs to be put somewhere safe, but somewhere handy. So thinking of a fireproof box or fireproof safe, if you don't have a safety deposit box, but somewhere that your representative or executor can get it easily when the time comes. So now you're ready to start your will. You should have a plan. Now, probably 80 or 90% of people, if you were to ask what they want, they will tell you that they want to die at home with their family gathered around them, telling them that they love them. We all want that. That's not necessarily going to happen. So that's not a plan, that's a wish. So while you're cognitive and in reasonably good health, because I'm telling you, this is really stressful. Working on a will, working on the things you want the people that you love to have, the things that you want to have happen to you when you die. Honestly, it took me months to get through it, and it was the most stress I've ever had because it made me go deep within myself and think about things that I didn't want to think about, but so important. So, no secrets. Get rid of your anger so that when you do die, you can die in relative peace, knowing that you've left nothing unsaid, knowing that you've told the people that love you that you love them. And I'm going to talk about secrets here because this complicated my will preparation. In the olden days, our will would consist of, we have 3 kids, we'll divide everything equally. Our executor knew, liquidate everything, because they were younger when we first made that will. Jump forward quite a few years to last year, and now I've got to make a will, and things have changed. I now have 10 grandchildren, and also I have a daughter. In 1970, I gave birth to a little girl who I gave up for adoption. If you ever want to know the story, mention it in the comments below, and I'll share it with you. But not in this video. This video is about your will. But my daughter Heather back into my life in 2016, and it was, which is maybe not usual, a joyous reunion. But now when I'm doing my will, I want to acknowledge her. She's my daughter, although she's not Alan's daughter. She thinks of him as her stepdad. So the second time we met, she said, I know you enough now that I know that you will be thinking about your will. How the heck did she know? And I just want to tell you, I will not accept any money from you. I do not want to have anything from your will unless you want to give me a personal object of yours or of your mother's. I am not coming into your life to disrupt your life and to cause havoc with your children. That's not my wish. My wish is to know you and know your kids, but I don't want any of your money. Not that we have much, guys. But, so now I'm thinking, fast forward to 2021, I don't want to just not acknowledge her in my will because she's my daughter and I love her and she has come into our life with joy. I may not leave her money, but I'm still not going to pretend she doesn't exist. So that's where the will became complicated, because in a relationship, say where there's divorce or you're a blended family, that's a whole other thing that you have to work out when you're doing a will and you're leaving things to people. And I gotta tell you here, guys, you may not think this is important. Oh boy, is it ever. When you're doing your will, really think about it. What I did was the financial stuff, you know, you divide equally with the kids, whatever. But then now you're into things like jewelry and personal things. So what I did, instead of putting that all into my will, I did up a separate agreement on my computer, which I had witnessed. Now, once you have something witnessed, you cannot change it in any way, shape, or form. You have to then redo it, whether it be your will or even just an agreement. So I had things I want to leave specifically to my grandchildren and to my children, like my 70-year-old teddy bear, some jewelry, things like that. And it was important for me to list all that. This doesn't all have to be a serious, horrible thing that you have to go through, because this started way back in the 80s when I was in my 30s. My friends and I sort of started this thing. My one girlfriend had a beautiful platter on her wall that I just coveted. And I said to her one day in passing, "Oh, you know, Jeannie, when you die, will you leave me that in your will?" And she just kind of went, "Sure." And that started a 30-year kind of running joke on things. "Oh, that black velvet jacket you've got on, when you die, will you leave that to me in your will?" Yeah. We have duck decoys. We have my teddy bear. We have, I mean, things that are really probably of no value. But if you think about it, it is important, because you're acknowledging a friend that you know liked something that you had. Now, the only problem is some of the stuff happened in the 80s. Now we're 2022, so it may not be relevant now. And that's where the joke comes in, because then you could also have the opportunity of looking at some stuff that you know that your friend or family member would absolutely not want, like your Santa and Mrs. Santa salt and pepper shakers, and you leave something like that to them. It's a joke, because this doesn't all have to be serious, you guys. This is you controlling your life, controlling what you want to have happen, what you want to give to people. And why not have a bit of fun with it? I mean, come on. We've all had stuff given to us over the years that we look at and go, what the heck? Yeah, well, now's the time maybe to pass it along. Move it along to some, but please don't leave a grand piano or your Aunt Mary's old bureau to somebody unless they specifically ask for it, because that would be just cruel, you know? But if you don't think this stuff matters, you're wrong. I have seen families fall apart over a ring, a necklace, a mother's pearls, and when I say it tears families apart, it tears them apart forever. And what it's tearing them apart over is stuff. Now, you know, money, that's a whole separate issue. So if you've got stuff and you know that you've got a family member or a friend who really loves your stuff, because you know what, your executor, when the time comes, does not want to be in the middle of a broiling family conflict. That's not fair to them. And do you want that to be your memory? No, you do not. That I am in no way want to be on multiple doses of chemotherapy, weighing 85 pounds, with my family gathered around my bed just waiting for me to die and be out of pain. Now, every country and every state and province has different rules and regulations. But in BC, we have something called MAID, which is medically assisted in dying. Controversial. This is very controversial, you guys. There are people out there that think it's akin to suicide and are just so much against it. There are people that treat it as if, well, if you had a dog that was suffering, you'd put that dog down. Well, this is the stuff that when they say your end of life, and this is not the same as a DNR, or do not resuscitate. This is your wishes. And boy, some of the questions they ask are pretty. Let me give you an example. One of the questions on the form was, after you pass away, do you want your family to see your body? Do I? I don't know. What do you want to have happen to your body? Do you wish an in-ground burial? Do you wish to be cremated? If so, who do you want to have handle that? Now, when I tell you about the uncomfortable stuff you have to deal with, this is where it gets down to the nitty-gritty. This isn't giving away your favorite stuff now. This is what you want to have happen to you. Well, luckily, I had thought about all that way back in 2006 when I thought I was going to die. So, here goes. For the record, I don't want a big church service. I want my friends and family around me. Hopefully the weather will be good and we could be outdoors somewhere. I want my ashes to be scattered in a forest. I love the water, but I'm scared of the water, so I think a forest would be more suited to me. The music I want to play. I've wanted this music way back in the 90s. Theme song from Out of Africa, my most favorite movie in the world. Have I Told You Lately That I Love You by Van Morrison. And Someone Exactly Like You by Van Morrison. That has never changed, never wavered from that. That's what I want. So to recap, you need your representation agreement, your DNR, your end-of-life wishes, and all that should be notarized or witnessed by 2 witnesses that are not relatives. Your will should be pretty straightforward. If you want to leave something in trust, deal with that. You know, like let's say your kids or grandkids, say, are younger. So in my case, I want my grandkids to have some money, but I don't want them to have it till they're 21. You know, I'm not going to leave a 4-year-old a bunch of money. Right? My executor knows that. I'm also slowly giving away some of the things that I know certain people really want. I just have to share one little quick story. I know this is getting to be too long of a video. In the 80s, and I mentioned earlier in the video about my friend Jeannie and her beautiful platter. And then I never saw it again. When she moved out of that house, that was the last time I saw that platter. It wasn't foremost in my mind and I didn't think about it, but it was always sort of niggling in the back of my mind. I wonder what happened to that. I just assumed that one of her daughters took it because it really was a beautiful piece of ceramics. So when she called me when I found out I had cancer again, she said, is there anything that you want to do? And I said, well, I've done everything on my bucket list. So really no, but boy, do I sure miss our girl trips that we took for 30 years. I'd love to do another girl trip. And she said, you got it. And she organized it. My friend Lisa came out from Ontario, my daughter Heather, my daughter Angela, my friend Chris, my friend Jeannie. The last day we went for breakfast. And Jeannie was heading home to her place and we were heading for the ferry. And she handed me this great big blue bag. And I went, what? What's this? And she says, oh, it's just for you. And I opened it up and it was the platter. That's over 30 years of remembering. It was very, very touching. The person that is going to be taking care of your remains and everything else, your stuff that you've collected for years, who the heck knows how important a teacup is to you if you've never told them. Some of your stuff has a story and some of your stuff may not be important to others and some of your stuff might be. Don't assume. You may have a family member who stands back and doesn't say anything about things of yours that they want. You may have a family member that jumps forward and goes, oh, I'd like this, oh, I'd like this, I'd like that. That family member makes life easier, really. Now, don't be afraid to ask. And don't be afraid to tell. Got another CT scan coming up on the 24th of January. The pain in my left hip and my left leg is getting worse. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what it's going to show. My energy level is not what it used to be. And yours may not be either if you have cancer. So use that energy wisely and don't waste it. Don't think that you have to do everything about your will, your end of life, all at once. It took me 6 months. You may not have 6 months. So each person's going to be different, right? When you're thinking about your grandchildren, there may be that they're young and they don't really care about a certain something that you may have. Down the road they will. Maybe with a little note for them would be very touching. Your kids, like, honestly, I am so lucky that I have a husband and children who are all in for helping me and making my life as easy as it can be. Because I'm pretty much doing nothing. I may die in a week, I may die in 5 years, I may die in 10 years, who the heck knows? But I'll be ready, and I want you to be ready too, okay? I'm sorry if this video's upset you. I don't mean to do that, but can be a practical person as well as an emotional person, and this is a little bit of both, eh? Take control of your life and take control of your death. Thanks so much for joining me today. And if you've stuck with me till the end, good on you. A lot of information, and probably wasn't stuff you wanted to think about right now. So soon after Christmas. By the way, Christmas was crazy at our house. We had 11 for every meal, 15 for most suppers. Kids everywhere, chaos. Oh my God. Little ones running around and laughing and wondering if Grandma was sleeping because they needed to be quiet. I had my family around me and it was the best. The best. I was exhausted. When they all finally left, I tell you, I think for 2 days I did nothing but sleep, but I wouldn't have changed that for anything. And now we're in 2022. And now we get to plan what we're going to do this year. Boy, oh boy, it could be interesting, could be fun. I appreciate every single one of you. I feel like we're sort of working our way into each other's hearts with the comments that you make and the care, the prayers that you send me. I'm not really a religious person, I'll be honest. I believe the Spirit is within me. But I appreciate that you're praying for me, because that means you're thinking about me. Just as when I do internal thoughts for people that I care about, that I know are ill. It's the same thing. So, I do want to make a video with my daughter Heather. She wants it to be a video where we talk to my children and maybe her children about, and my husband Alan, about their thoughts about her coming into our life. An honest video. It's going to take a while to get it together if that happens, but if that's something that you think you would be interested in watching, put a yay or a yes down in the comments below so that I have an idea, because it will be a hard video to make. It means me going way back 50 odd years. A little bit painful, but you know, I got Heather out of it. Thanks for coming along with me. Thanks for staying with me. And we'll see you next time. Love you. Bye.